was great for the spread of written English, but unfortunately it was also great for the spread of the spellings that printers had decided on before the pronunciation changes already in progress were complete. Other pronunciation changes that happened over this time period were the loss of certain sounds at the beginning of words, and an almost complete overhaul of the entire vowel system of English, known as the Great Vowel Shift. As if that wasn't complicated enough, the French-speaking Normans had taken over in 1066, and French was the language of educated culture, courts, and universities in England for a few hundred years. Those years left their mark on English vocabulary and spelling. So, for the most part, the answer to why do we spell it that way is either because we used to pronounce it that way, or because that's how they did it in French. But sometimes we can't blame either of those things. In the late 1500s, English spelling had stabilized well enough, but some Renaissance scholars who were all fired up about classical Latin and Greek decided not to leave well enough alone. They thought the glory of the ancient world should be better reflected in the current one. They decided words like receipt, salmon, indict, and debt needed to put their Latin roots on better display, so they purposely added letters that no one had ever pronounced in English. They also found ways to connect words to their Greek roots and give them a fancier, classical look to replace homelier but more sensible spellings. And sometimes the classical craze went a little too far. The word island, for example, came from an Old English word iglund. It didn't come from Latin at all, and people were happily pronouncing it and writing it as island, until someone picked up an S from the Latin insula and stuck it where it was never meant to be. Finally, we have a whole bunch of words that we simply borrowed from other languages as is, including another later wave of French words that we left in their original spellings. English loves to borrow from everywhere. Sometimes we borrow from languages that bring their own silent letters and spelling issues, and they then become our spelling issues too. And sometimes we borrow the same word from two different places. That's what happened with colonel. We borrowed it from French, along with a lot of other military vocabulary in the 1500s. Back then they said it and spelled it as coronel. Later, English scholars started translating old Italian military treatises where it was colonnello. Time goes by, and wouldn't you know it, people are spelling it the Italian way and pronouncing it the French way. Meanwhile, the French switched over to colonel in spelling and pronunciation. How boring is that? So there's a lot of blame to go around for the spelling situation we find ourselves in. You might not find any comfort in that the next time English sneaks up on you with another crazy spelling prank, but try not to get too mad at English. It's not an arbitrary meanie. It's just a victim of a complicated history.
English is not confusing. It's just a victim of very complicated history. That's the thing about English. So whenever you see these exceptions or rules or meanings that are totally strange, you need to understand that it's because of the origin of the language. There is a development that has been completely distant, completely different to other things, because English borrows words. Do you remember what is borrow? Borrow is similar to
Length.
the opposite. No, length is the opposite.
Take.
Take. Very good, Chucho. Borrow and take are synonyms. So English has taken a lot of words from all the different cultures that have came across English speakers, especially when we are talking about writing in the printing machine. You know, one of the first things that the video says is that there were a lot of phonetical things, phonetical words before the book was invented. I'm talking about before the book. Just imagine how far ago was that. There was a lot of phonetical uses from the Germanic languages. We are talking about these societies that lived very, very long time ago in the areas of England. And there is a movie called The Northman. Have you seen that movie?
No.
The Northman. You have, if you want to understand Cyrillic language, you need to watch this movie. This specific movie is taking the setting in this part of the history where people from England lived without English. I'm talking about preceding English. And the language that appears in the movie is Cyrillic. The Cyrillic language, no, I know Cyrillic is Russian. No. The name is what's the name? Northern languages. The Norse alphabet. Here it is. Ancient Norse alphabet. Old Norse. This is the one. This is the Norse alphabet. If you see the different symbols that exist here, they don't match the written language, but some of the sounds match with the English pronunciation. I'm talking about the sound word. Right? And many of the sounds that you see today or you hear today in the American English, in the British English, comes from the North pronunciation. For example, this one. We don't have this sound in Spanish. Do you agree with me?
No.
Right? We don't have sounds like that exist in English. And we don't have other consonants like z, like zh. Well, all these sounds came from this type of language that happened before the book was invented. You can see the symbols somewhere over here. Look. You see? These symbols were then transmitted from these societies up to Christianism. When Christianism arrived to North England, they started finding their alphabet and they started to match the alphabet from Christian speakers, right, or Christian society, put together with the North alphabet, and then they needed to decide how to write this into English. So these specific symbols created like a pot, yacht, and then you can see a G. You see? GH. So these symbols transfer to the GH. And then you have these kind of words like thocht, you know? But then what is the past of think? Thought. The GH doesn't sound, right? That's because after years of history, after years of development, American people, English speakers started to eliminate sounds from some words because the words were starting to get written, but the people started to pronounce it differently. So this is when the big vertex starts, the big difference between written English and spoken English starts.
Yes.
This is the period, the moment when the two things get separated, when the book appears.
Okay.
And that's the reason phonetical English doesn't exist. The words are not pronounced the same way because the book was developed at the same time the language was developed. They say that many of the words that exist today is thanks to Shakespeare. Imagine this. Shakespeare invented English. Literally, we are speaking a Shakespearean language, a very modern version of English that appeared in very modern times after the industrialization of paper. You see? Totally crazy. And if you see Spanish, that's very different. Spanish became, or the Romanic languages like French, Italian, and Spanish became the mother languages for education and universities. That's the reason. And all this story, all this mini lesson of history to tell you the reason why words that are similar to Spanish are considered formal. Because they are words that are usually used in academic settings.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
A good example for that is let's check Latin roots. Latin roots words. Let's take an example of this. The word sweet. The word sweet comes from suave, which is Latin. The word... No, I'm trying to look for another one. Yeah, especially with prefixes and suffixes. Look at all these words. Astrology, biology. You see? They are very similar to Spanish.
Yes.
Narcotic, narcolepsy, empathy, pathetic, apathy. You see?
Yes. Yes.
All the words that are very similar to Spanish are actually considered formal in English.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
Yes. Etymology.
Exactly, because of etymology. And then you see phrasal verbs like find out, that is very distant from Spanish. That's normal English, casual English.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Right? So one of the first things that we need to consider is we have phrasal verbs from one side, we have collocations and words that usually go together. All this is casual English. And then words that are similar to Latin roots, this is formal vocabulary. In this case, I'm only talking about vocabulary. Okay, that's part one of the lesson. Okay. The second part of the lesson is now structure. One thing is to use words that are very formal, or to avoid using words that are very formal when you are in a normal setting. And other very different is to use structures that match your intention. Okay? So this is when formal versus informal English start, right? When grammar is important, when it's not important, how to use it. Okay? So let's start reading this article. Help me, Chucho, with the first part. Let's go.
Yes. Some people say correcting people's grammar makes you a snob, or in the words of the one commentator, patronizing, pretentious, and just plain wrong. As
Okay. Let's check many things here. Let's understand vocabulary.
Yes, the letters are so no.
There's a lot of yes, a lot of words here. Okay. Pronunciation.
Okay. Patronizing.
Excellent. Pay.
Pay. Pay.
Complete.
Pay. Patronizing. Yes.
Perfect.
Patronizing. Patronizing.
Patronizing is showing that you think you are better or more intelligent than other person.
Okay.
You see, so you're patronizing. It's like, oh my god, my director is so patronizing. You know, bosses are patronizing sometimes.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
How do you say that? Well, when you're talking formal, sometimes it feels patronizing, pretentious, and wrong. Right?
Right.
Another vocabulary. Right?
Snuff.
Excellent.
Snob.
A person who admires people in the higher society classes is like a person who is not part of the high society classes, but they defend them. You know?
Ah, okay. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
That's the thing. She's
Okay.
such a snob. Have you seen Ted, the movie?
No. 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 No.
Ah, you need to watch Ted, man. What are you doing with your life? You need...
It's wrong.
Anyway, let's start here. Again.
Some people say correcting people's grammar makes you a snuff, or, in the words of one commentator, patronizing, pretentious, and just plain wrong. As proofreaders, this puts us in a difficult position.
Before you
No,
continue, do you understand proofreader?
no.
Okay. So then let's go here. Proofreader.
Proofreader.
Very important vocabulary for you in this moment. C1. A person whose job is to read or correct pieces of written or printed. So you receive a paper and you check punctuation, spelling, fluency, coherence, etc. Right?
Okay. It's
Action.
like a translator.
No, a translator. Actually, there is a verb that says proofread. And to proofread is to check your piece of written work.
Okay, yeah. Yes.
Right?
Only.
Let's say that you type an email. Before you send it, you proofread it. Got it?
Okay.
Action.
Okay. As proofreaders, this puts us in a difficult position. On the one hand, we don't want to be patronizing, pretentious, and just plain wrong. On the other hand, we're professional poets using our knowledge of English to help people communicate. Perhaps the real question is when it's appropriate to insist on particular grammatical standards. First, though, we should consider the difference between formal and informal English. Okay, yes.
Right? So yes, checking grammar can be a little bit annoying for some people, but it's very important at the end, right?
Yes.
So let's check the characteristic of formal English. Help me, Victor. Let's begin with you.
Yes, teacher. Formal English. Formal English stick to the prescribed rules of spelling and grammar. This is a far more common in writing than speech, especially academic writing and professional settings. In this kind of English, it's typical to use conventional grammar and spelling, avoid contractions, for example, done or should.
How do you pronounce this?
Should have.
Should have is complete, no?
Yes.
Then let me help you with this thing. I have a group in the level that is before this,
Yes.
that is learning to pronounce this. Here it is. Pronunciations of contractions. We have would have, could have, should have, can't have, etc.
Yes.
And you can see that there is a little pronunciation here.
Okay.
This is the way. There is a sound. This one over here.
라리르레로
Ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra. This is the sound you should use. How do you pronounce it?
Should have.
Excellent. The word is should have.
Okay.
The rest, actually, I should change this because it's the same, eh? When you say should have, could have, would have, might have. That's the pronunciation with all of them.
Okay. Sure.
So let's do it again.
Avoid contractions. For example, don't or shouldn't. And slang. Use academic or technical language. Use complete sentences as well as longer or more complex sentences.
And this.
Require consistent use of terminology or punctuation.
All right. So then what is the meaning here? What do you understand? Use conventional grammar and spelling, right? If you're talking about formal English, you need to use conventional grammar and spelling, which means your grammar, your structures need to be complete structures in person, verb, complement structures. Probably you're gonna use some connectors like which, where, that. These are called relative clauses. What, when, where, which, what, etc. No, and also you are going to use some very complex structures. For example, the third conditional or the first, second, and third conditional, they need to be accordingly. No, some exceptions, like when you use the third conditional, you need to use where. If I were the president, that's considered formal, right? If you say, if you use contractions like for the past modals, instead of using should have or should have, you need to extend it. I should have done that. If you use don't, it's better to say do not. I do not approve whatever the person said, whatever, right? And this is conventional grammar. You see? It's the standard grammar rules that you have learned all the history of your speaking training. That's why didactical English bases on structures. Because if you are going to learn English, you first learn the formal way and then you change to informal. This is what you are going to do. You are going to change to informal. An advanced speaker speaks informally. An intermediate speaker speaks formally. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
That's the way. Good.
Yes.
Now it says use academic or technical language, which is, of course, if it's formal, it's because you are writing for a specific setting, right? If it's for your career, it's a document, it's a thesis, it's a whatever, an article, etc. Complete sentences, right? And longer or more complex sentences. This is a very common thing. If you see a TOEFL text, you are going to see very complex sentences,
Okay.
And you remember the TOEFL exam, right, Chucho?
Right.
Right? These texts were totally formal English. With
Yes.
extended, no contractions, extended sentences, etc.
It was.
That's the thing. So you are more familiar, let me tell you that you are more familiar to formal English than to informal. That's the thing. Now let's go to informal English. Okay? Help me, Luis, you're back. Perfect.
Yes. English. Informal English covers any form of written or spoken English that doesn't stick to standard spelling or grammar, but that uses slang and informal words. This is the kind of everyday language we use when talking with friends or family. There is obviously no standard form of informal English, since it simply refers to no standard English, which can even encompass well,
This. Ah, well done, Jesus. Okay, let's look for this. Okay,
like text speaking or non-text speaking.
exactly. What is this?
Uh,
Text speak.
text speak.
Informal. Tell me, what is this?
Text speak, the kind of language that is typically used in text messages. For example, short forms of words, initials, symbols, etc. Oh, okay.
Do you understand?
I think it's like a kind of, for example, in Spanish, I don't know, maybe that kind of AL, that kind of abbreviation. I don't know. No?
Yeah. What abbreviation did you use? I had microphone problems.
AL and ALV.
ALV. Okay, but that's Spanish. How do you say it in English? Do you know any of them?
Yes, for example, I remember a kind of example, but in the office environment.
Okay.
For example, ASAP.
ASAP, which means as soon as possible, no?
For example.
And when you speak, some people say, I need it ASAP.
Really?
Yes, of course. People say explicitly the alphabet. They say, can you send it to me ASAP because I need to run? And that's informal English. Of course, of course.
I didn't know. I have used, and they send me mails a lot of times using that abbreviation,
but never spoken.
Or for example, TBD.
TBD.
To be defined.
Oh, really?
Yes, for example, when they have I don't know, any topic, a particular rule or a particular policy or something like this.
Wow.
And they many uses to be defined. This part is not important in this moment. It doesn't matter. This will be to be defined. TBD. I had issues at the beginning. What does TBD mean? Because I saw in many texts and they explain me that it has to be defined.
Okay. That was totally new for me, eh? That was the thing that you said, that was totally new for me. But yeah. Of course, that's because I'm not into the office, environment.
Yes.
I have seen that many of my students have this close connection to office slang.
Office slang, I think is a better.
Which is the name of all that, you know. Is the TBD, is the Volvo, is the ASAP, and there are a lot of like this type of office slang that is copied off TextSpeak.
Yes.
Right? And there are others, I am more familiar to some that are more like they have developed after video game speech from people who are playing video games. Sometimes they give some text signals that everybody knows the meaning. For example, if the person, and it actually can be copied to Zoom calls and Teams and Slack, which is the digital office. When you are not in the computer, you enter the chat and you type BRB. Are you familiar with this?
BRB? I don't think so.
You have never seen that? What about
No.
Chucho and Victor? Do you know that? Okay.
No, teacher.
BRB means be right back. So you're going to the bathroom, you're attending a call, you're going to the door, you're not on the computer for a moment, BRB.
No, yes, I have seen that also in the office. Yes, I remember.
That's very common. It happens in Slack, in Zoom calls, in Teams. That's a very common thing.
Yes, because many of my meeting, some colleagues were that precise. You refresh my memory. Yes, and literally BRB. And I also had issues at the beginning because
Understanding that.
What does it mean?
What's the meaning of BRB?
Yes, and ask later, and they say me, it's BRB.
The person was not in front of the computer.
Yes.
Right? Well, more modern ways. I have seen my younger friends, they play video games and they type AFK.
Oh, no, I know.
That's totally new. That's the next level. It's BRB, which is the most casual one, but there is another one that is more modern, that is AFK, which means away from keyboard.
No, I didn't heard before.
That's a new one. And it means I'm the same thing. I'm not in the computer. I'm going AFK for a moment.
Okay, no. No, BRB, yes. But...
Here's another one for you. BRB, AFK, and others, Let's talk about that. Office text. Office text speak. Tell me, Jojo.
Today is your fortunate day.
Why?
Because of, do you remember Centenary Street?
Yes.
Well, it's closed.
It's closed? And why is it closed?
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure. But there was a shooting.
A shooting?
I'm not sure. I just need to confirm. But the thing that is sure is that it's closed.
Okay, but why is it my lucky day?
Because
you're gonna say
we have to say we have to tell you goodbye earlier,
But not today.
My brother, we are going to go to the work and the school,
So you're gonna stay,
Exactly.
That's my lucky day. Very nice. Thanks the shooter, I'm going to have a full class with you guys.
I have remembered another one.
Oh, you have? Great.
TBA.
What's the other one? TBA to be no, I don't know what is TBA.
To be announced.
To be announced. Jesus Christ.
Yes, they used in communication. For example, for a change in the company or something like this. But,
okay, TBA. It's like it's not official yet.
Yes. To be announced.
That's so interesting. Text speech. And that is considered informal, eh?
Yeah,
I mean, even though Even though we are talking about the workplace, these acronyms are totally informal. We cannot put those acronyms in a document, in an official document. Do you agree? That's why it's considered casual English.
And I noticed that they uses this texting a lot.
Oof, total, a lot.
Uh,
A lot, a lot.
yes, at the beginning I had issues because I didn't use it before. But when I began to work with them, and I noticed that they use this kind of abbreviations, and if you don't know what does it mean, what it means, sorry, it's a problem.
Yeah, but that's a good thing, because it helps you. Probably at the beginning you're not familiar with it, but that really gives you. You're leaving, Chucho?
Yes. See
Okay,
you.
okay. Have a good day.
Nice weekend.
Bye, man. See you later.
See you.
What happened here is in our neighbor.
What happened?
There was a I don't know what is that when the police is following
A criminal? A suspect. Suspect.
Yes. So this happened since Toluca to here, Centenario Avenue.
So they were pursuing a suspect and he landed in Centenario?
Yes, and precisely in front of it finishes in front of the quick learning Centenario.
Wow.
And there was weapons. They use weapons. I don't know what is it the term in English for large weapon. I don't know if that exists.
Wow. Yeah, they're called large weapons. It's not much away.
And many policies and Centenario Avenue is closed. It's a disaster here.
Wow. And then why did Chucho say that he was my lucky day?
What did he say? Sorry.
Why did Chucho say that it was my lucky day?
I think that is for that reason.
I don't
lucky day? No. I think I don't know. That's an interesting question. I don't know.
Sometimes we don't understand Chucho. We are too old to understand Chucho sometimes.
Or maybe it's because it will be difficult to go to the school in this moment.
But I thought that he was going to stay.
So I had issues also to understand Chucho.
Exactly. Yes, like Chucho, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
That happens constantly. Sometimes Chucho says things, I'm like, what are you saying?
Yes, he doesn't obey logic rules.
or our logic. We are too old. It's the first sensation to know that you are getting old. You are not understanding younger people.
When you say that, look it up. It's a completely disaster here.
Exactly. Why lucky? I mean, if I am lucky, I'm lucky. Why? Because I am not in Centenario, or because you are staying in the class, or because I don't understand his comment. I don't get it. Well, anyway, let's speak. Let's speak examples. Some useful things. Now, some of them are completely 90s. Some of them are not used. That's why when we see these type of examples, look, we have a TikTok slang, which are very, very modern. We have the word cap. That's a very, very classic one. A cap is a lie. So if you say I don't lie, you say no cap. Why? No idea.
Okay.
No cap. Finsta, a second private secret, more relaxed Instagram account. You see?
So, for example, it's a kind of account that it is not accessible for your parents, for example. No?
That's right. You cannot. No. It's that it's not accessible for your parents. It's just that it's private. Instagram is usually public because you have a lot of pictures. But there is a lot of teenagers that don't use Instagram for pictures. They use it as a chat, like a second WhatsApp. Why? Because teenagers.
Really? Instagram can be used for chatting?
Yes, of course. There's a messaging in the app.
No, I didn't know that.
So these guys, teenagers, are using Instagram as a chat service, more like a photo service.
Yes, it makes sense because, for example, if you use Instagram as a chatting media, you don't appear as present in WhatsApp.
Precisely. That's right.
Yeah, your last
And
connection
you are not
appeared long time ago.
precisely, and you are not connected to the main messaging app that is telling you the time where you are connected and everything. Because some people don't like to show where they are online, so they prefer to use Instagram.
Interesting.
Yes, that's a Finsta. You know, super weird. Let's check that in a moment. All right, Jessie, are you there, girl?
Yes, I am here. Good
Hello.
morning.
Good morning,
Mr.
girl.
Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Chucho and Victor came, but they left. I don't know
Away.
where they are.
So, nice. Send the class.
Yeah, that would be a good idea, please.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Jessica. Take care. Have a nice day.
Like,
You too, girl. Have a
thank
good
you.
day. Bye.
Thank you.
Yes. Sleeping on. Ignore not to pay attention. Or ignore or not paying attention to not giving enough recognition. This structure, this word is usually used with the auxiliary have. I have been sleeping on this, I have been sleeping on that. For example, the fact of now that you mentioned you didn't know about Instagram having a chat service, right? So you have been sleeping on Instagram.
So, but this sleeping on is not a verb.
Sleeping on is not a verb. Yes, of course. Sleeping on as a phrasal verb.
O sea, it's not a existing phrasal verb.
That's a good question. Let me check.
It's a kind of invented verb of the Chavis. No,
The Chinese. I know. To delay making a decision about something until the next day. This is the one I knew. When you don't take a decision about something, you sleep on that. Like when you say you consult the you know,
yeah.
that is to sleep on that. But no, that's totally new. The TikTok version is new. So to sleep on is to, okay, let me sleep on that. I'll tell you tomorrow. That's the most globally accepted definition of a sleep on, right? But sleeping on as the usage that they give on TikTok comes from another text speech that is called FOMO. FOMO is a short version of fear of missing out, which means that if something is popular, you want to be part of that too.
Yeah.
If you are not part of that, you are not going to have conversation with other people, and therefore it creates a kind of social anxiety.
Yes, because you're not updated, and you're
Exactly. You are not
not current. I don't know.
you're not current, you're not updated. That's correct, in the latest news.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe
Last
and how could I say it before? You are not on wave.
exactly. But that's in Spanish. In English it doesn't exist. Estás en onda, chavo. No, brother. That is Spanish and very old Spanish, okay? Like, no. That's totally. But it's the same concept.
Yeah, it's the same sort of the evolution, no? In other words.
Exactly. It's an evolution. It's just a different way to say the same thing. If you get FOMO, it's because you don't want to sleep on that because you have FOMO. So we are talking real English now, and it's not modern. It's a normal way to speak. You watch people from the cities, especially people from the city, speak like this because people from the city get close connection with social media and with all these modern technologies.
And I think maybe the same phenomena here in Spanish environment, no? Citizens, but young citizens.
Exactly. And even people in Spanish use the word FOMO a lot. I have some friends that say me dio FOMO.
Oh, so
Yes.
I need new friends.
Everybody needs new friends, don't worry.
But young friends.
I have some friends that don't understand when I tell them que me dio FOMO. They are like, what?
Imagine that many of my friends have 10 years more than me.
Yeah, oh, wow, okay. So you have, wow, and you are my age or older, no?
So in my environment, I'm the young friend.
Exactly.
Sorry?
Yes, in your setting, you are the youngest.
Yes, and I have the new words and what? Really?
I feel you. I remember that time, and it makes sense. There is no connection with the current world or what's going on today. That's totally fine. But of course, when a person tells you that, now you will understand what's going on.
Yeah.
No?
I'm conscious about the new world in which I am.
You are aware. You are not conscious.
Aware.
You are aware. That's the one. Stand with stand. Big a fan of someone or someone. That's slaps. Describing something is very good. I have heard that with music, but I don't know if that is.
That previous sounds weird. CEO of.
This is a funny one. When you are very good at something, people say that you are the CEO of something. For example, I am the CEO of preparing a cup of tea and not drinking it.
Yes. What?
Exactly. It's not a company. It's not a company. It's just habits that you do constantly.
Very good.
That is so funny. I love that one. I really like that one. Yes. Olvidado. The rest are definitely nah. The rest are not used at all. This is what didactic English thinks that is textbook, but nah, nobody uses this anymore. Nobody uses this anymore. Nobody uses this anymore. Like that's definitely not used. But that's
I
really
think many of these abbreviation or text have a short lifetime.
yes, yes, definitely. Most of them have a very short lifetime, and it's usually used with, in this case, Generation Z.
They become popular many months, several months, and search a new one. And
Exactly. Exactly. Like there is a very short lifespan. Do you know the word lifespan?
yes.
So it's a very short lifespan for these words. For example, the words that you are using, great, deviate, this type of text was relevant in the 2000s, probably 2001, because you needed to have a very short message when you send it to another person. Remember, you have
Yeah.
like how many characters in a SMS? 100 characters.
Yes.
So you needed to be brief, and sometimes it was necessary to shorten some words because your message didn't fit in 100 characters. So then this is when these type of abbreviations were popular. But of course, with the coming of internet and longer text messages, now these short versions are useless.
Yes.
And this happened in how long was the transition? 9 years?
In fact, if you use that kind of short messages, you make your conversation difficult to be understood.
But at the beginning, it was useful.
Yes, at the beginning, yes, because even you had conversation using text messages.
Sure. Sure. With the T9, the T9 uh, text when it was 3 letters per button.
Yes.
No, that was much easier to spell great with a GR8.
Yes.
No, today we have a full QWERTY keyboard on the screen, so it's much easier to type correctly, type it complete. And even with that problem, people say, people post a point in the comments so they can get the notifications of the post. Have you seen that in Facebook?
No, I don't think so.
What? Really?
Or maybe I'm not understanding correctly.
So let's say that you are interested in Fernando Perez's classes, but you don't want to create a conversation in the commercial.
Yes. So in the comments, you only point a dot.
Exactly. And people are posting a dot.
Yes.
It's why, it's like the only reason the point exists there is because they will get notifications of the post, so later can watch it. It's like
Yes.
another form to save the post.
Yes.
So strange.
Yeah, because it helps the system send you notifications.
Yes,
It's like, I am here, I am interested.
I am
It's
interested,
important for me.
but I'm not talking in this moment.
Yeah, but not so relevant to write something because I don't have anything to say.
So weird, no?
Yes.
That happens very, very. This is a modern way to deal with comments, and that was completely strange before, thanks to the notifications, right? But that is the thing. I really, really, really would like you to have like a very close reading of text speak and phrasal verbs, because this is expanding your vocabulary. As I tell you, you are very familiar with formal English, but talking a normal conversation, an advanced conversation, is talking using slang, using expressions, using phrasal verbs. That's the way to expand to advanced.
Yes, and RC, these topics are C1 or C2 because refers uh, to the quotidian or normal life in
Everyday.
English environment.
Precisely. That's the reason it's advanced. That's the reason this is so important. What a different way to look at English, no?
I think it's so similar, for example, the Spanish environment.
Exactly. In a normal everyday in your life, naturally.
Maybe if you are a Spanish student here in Mexico City, for example, no? You maybe learn a word for describing a public bus is I don't know yes, that, for example, public bus, no? Or if you use if you listen, for example, micro or micro, no, something like
Micro, instead of saying bus, taking the bus.
he will take a micro. What is a micro?
Exactly. Yes, a person that comes to Mexico, they won't learn se descompuso mi carro, va a decir se rajó mi troca, right?
That kind of
yeah. that's really advanced.
I saw recently a meme that refers a Spanish student learning colors and Spanish color, no? Rojo, azul, and he was happy because he have learned all the colors, and then listen an Spanish speaker to say this is of this is ant color.
This is ant color.
Ant color. Oh, I'm styling to English now. Esta color de hormiga.
Okay. Oh, that's impossible to translate. Wow. Like in English, I couldn't understand at all.
Wow. He was happy because he had already learned all the colors. Rojo, y de repente se puso color de hormiga. What kind of color is that?
That's so weird. And exactly that is cultural. That is cultural, exactly. What an interesting thing.
And I, as a Spanish speaker, I don't know what I know what does it mean, but how we use that expression, it's a complete mystery for me, at least.
Sure, yes, of course. That makes total sense.
What is the relation between the problem and the ants? I don't know.
That's etymology. That's precisely the reason why I started with etymology. Because if you want to understand the expression per se, you need to understand where the expression came from.
Yeah.
That's the only way. That's very, very interesting. And we only covered text speak. You know, there are other ways to get informal English, and there is a dictionary that I love to read. There's a website called Urban Dictionary. This website, man, is my go-to when I need to understand or to find a word or to get. I watch something on the internet and I'm like, what are they saying? I directly go to the Urban Dictionary. when I'm listening to a podcast, everybody's having a laugh and I don't understand some of the jokes. I come here, I type some of the expressions. By coincidence, they exist. And it makes me understand the jokes. It makes me understand everything. The Urban Dictionary is so good. Look at the definitions. Check this out. Milk toast or milk toast. A word originating from a comic strip character in the 1920s named Casper Milquetoast. The word has come to define someone unassertive and timid. The first time I ever heard this word was in an episode of the Gilmore Girls. The person that wrote the definition gives you the reference, and then they give you an example. You can be a milquetoast moped. You have to have pointy teeth and just that snap. The meek shall not inherit the earth. Meek is like the face. Yeah, it becomes like, okay, this is advanced because it's like you need some cultural references, you need to understand other words, and it's like in Wikipedia, you have a link to another word that gives you another meaning. It's so immersive. This website, so immersive, so interesting, and it's very, very everyday updated. Every single day updated. There are new words every single day. This
Yes,
dictionary
because
is
for example,
amazing.
if this word born in a TV series,
TV show.
in a TV show, there are constant new TV shows and new
Totally.
words
Every
like
single day.
this one.
And even TV shows are like are a little bit old because the script was written 2 years ago. So up to the date when the TV show appeared on television, technically the vocabulary was new 2 years before. So the best way to get updated on language is reading this dictionary. Let me give you the link. For slang and informal words. So that's the thing. The idea is you're going to explain the video that we saw yesterday using informal speech. Let's see how you do. Okay? That's the thing, brother.
Okay,
Good job.
teacher.
Good job. We finished for today. Let's study that for Tuesday. Okay?
Okay.
And I hope you feel better, man.
I expect the same. Thank you.
Right. See you later, bro.
See you. Have a nice long weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Take care.